Welcome to Mama Africa's Market. We are at Mama Africa's house and we will return right after this.
Women have the power to transform this world. We can end crime and violence if we all agree to do one thing: share. Let's share our wisdom, share our time, share our talents, share our finances, but most of all, let's share our love. This is the Female Solution.
Peace and love. Welcome back. Thank you all for joining in today. We have a treat for you today. We are going to bring on my sister, my fellow beautiful Black queen, Nubian mother, goddess, all of the things, Mama Asada. Welcome, Mama.
Nubian mother goddess. Nubian mother goddess.
All of that. How are you this morning?
I'm loving life a lot, girl. Thank you very much for asking.
The
And
sun is shining through your face. You waking everybody up this morning. You is looking beautiful, bright as always. The earrings and the hair wrap, always. You are always coming divinely beautiful, and with a smile that bright up every room I've ever seen you walk into. Definitely, yes.
So am I paying her? Am I paying her to say
that? Welcome to the show, Mama. So we have you on today as you are many things. Today we'll be talking a lot about you as an author of this great, wonderful book that's been a life-changing for so many African-American women, not even just reading the book, but the message directly on the book, which is Beating Black Kids. What inspired you to write this book?
Oh, great story. So I think, but it wasn't like I had some long history of wanting to talk about the message. But what was the catalyst for the book being written was I had a stroke in 2009, and it put me in a position where I needed to be watched by a friend who was looking over me and my daughter. And in that process, my daughter dealing with her mama is horizontal. She upset, right? And so one day she ripped up some money. This was after I got out of the hospital and I was home. And the person that was watching over us was like, you need to spank her because she ripped up this money. And I just thought that was so peculiar. Like, what? Because, this was another head wrap person talking about namaste and peace and all that. What? Talking about I need to beat my child. So in thinking about that, when I returned to work, I was talking to my daughter as we were walking. She was probably about 6 or 7. And I told her, I think Mommy has to write a book. And I told her it was going to be called Beating Black Kids. And what really made me write the book was one day I brought it up to my coworkers, said, I think I'm going to write a book. And they were like, oh, what you going to write? And when I said Beating Black Kids, it created this litany of answers from people. Like, I didn't even ask for them responses, but they came up with all of these stories about how they were beat as a child, and they were laughing and talking about how they got hit with a spatula and how they had to get wet first and all these things. And I was saying to myself, yo, I think they're purging. Like, no one has ever confronted the fact that all of these whippings happen. And these were just a combination of people. It was like a maintenance man and a cook and a teacher, and they're just kind of sitting around for lunch. But no matter what the socioeconomic background, they all had these stories of being hit by their parents. So I saw that the book needed to definitely be written once I got that feedback from them and came to look. I was really upset that I missed all of that, like tape recorder wise, and getting that, sort of audio footage. But I went and bought a tape recorder, came back, and I was like, oh, well, I'll try to get some. And I got more when I came back. So I just started taping these stories. And next thing you know, I was writing that book, period. I wrote it in 5 months' time and got it out in the 6th month. And it's never stopped since.
Wow. It's, as I said, I wasn't going to allow this to be an emotional thing for me today, because it is a topic that's also very close to my heart as a Black mother that don't want to be my kids. But a lot of times, we go revert back to what we know, and what we've been taught and trained to do. So it's definitely been a challenge for me. And I give thanks to you for writing the book, and to helping us to see a little bit. When I say us, I mean mothers, and of all mothers,
Sure.
Because it ain't just Black people that's beating their kids, but just putting that energy out into the universe. Definitely give thanks to you for that. But we do have an image right here that I see. Is this you? I know that you were saying that you give away these books sometimes.
Yeah, in this particular picture, though, I was in New York, and you could see me on the floor. But this was my first ever book discussion on my book. And there was a student that I worked with. He's at the very top there, Ruben. He had a book called the Black Male Harlem Book Club. So it was a book club of brothers, but he allowed sisters to come in for this one. And they primarily focused on Black male authors, but I think I was their first female author. And it was outstanding. Those people, many of them had not even read the book yet, but that's just the nature of my book discussions. When people come to discuss the topic, by the time we're done, they're buying their book and getting that book, and wanting to use it. And so, that was my very first book discussion in New York City. And many more began to follow. And it was just a very successful action, because it got people out to have a dialogue about this topic. And the book was the solution. Get 5, get 1, get 3, get 2, whatever you want. So that's what that particular picture was.
And how many children do you have?
So I have one dynamic daughter. Her name is Patience. And her name is Patience because she was very patient in my womb, just chilling. I didn't even know, labor was mellow, she was just in the room. So I have one daughter, and I give thanks that I was a teacher prior to having her, though. And so it gave me a lot of practice. About the time I became a mom, just how to solve problems and how to handle conflicts. And, I didn't have a lot of that. And my daughter was never rebellious, and she never had a reason to, be a problem for me, because I created an environment for that. You know what I'm saying? I became the type of mother that one wouldn't want to shun or disrespect or go against. I think when we lose our control as parents, then the students, the children have that's the example they follow in, the out of control adult. And so I worked to not be that, right? And to just be civil. And as a result, she's a 21-year-old girl who has her own business, who makes good judgment, and I don't have to worry about her.
I mean, it's a war of the beating versus the non-beating. So, we got the beating generation, which would be us. And then we got the generation that's coming up now. They call it, the kids that don't really get beat the way we need to get beat. And to see how that is playing out in the universe, or how does that seem? I feel like I realize a lot of young people are a little bit more radical, a little bit more free, a little bit more outspoken, which I feel like sometimes beating children sometimes makes them suppress themselves, go inward, just like any other domestic abusive relationship would be. I'm just curious to know your thoughts on abuse versus beatings versus love and corrective action.
Sure. I think, first of all, it's all the same. And kids, there's a myth that kids today don't get beat. They absolutely do. I can say that as a teacher. And so we have not stopped that. It's just that the methodology for handling that might be a little different. People say, oh, they're going to call protective services, and maybe we needed protective services back in the day. Maybe it would have curbed our behavior. But if you're beating little children and you're an adult, maybe you need to go to jail. Maybe you need something to put in your ethics so that you could find a better way to behave. I have this thing when I do my workshops. I have parents, I'll say, what's in your toolbox, right? Let me show this real quick. This toolbox, raise your skills and not your hands when you rearing our children, right? What do you have in your toolbox to use for raising us, right? And so, for me, it's things like happiness, it's things like laughter, it's things like discussion, and making sure that those things are in place so that my daughter has a good experience with her mom, right? And so I don't really feel like kids today are different in the way that they deal with they might be more rebellious, but they just have more input, right? They have more access to information than we did, but we have the same problem. The same problem exists. That's why my book still sells a lot, like, because people need answers on better things to do. And so, and we still have these, it's even worse today because you got kids dealing with depression and, they're getting diagnosed for stuff. But more than anything, when you're dealing with this spanking and this yelling, the fact that we're creating what's called cortisol production in the body, that's not good for the body. It's toxic to the body, but it happens when a person experiences stress. It's the producing of cortisol. And so our kids are full of it, right? And so the managing of that stress is just making for people that are going to be a problem in their adult life if this type of stress doesn't get put in check, and that we do a better job at having like discussions with our young people when we see something we don't like. We need to discuss it, get their viewpoint on it, sort it out. It may take a little longer, but it's worth it.
It's funny you say that because that's one of the tools. It's like communicating, right? A lot of times as parents, we just be so busy with what I found out for myself is like, I'd be so busy with trying to handle everything that is like, I expect what I say to be, and it's just not real, and it's also not real to allow children to be able to express themselves. Like I've found that communicating with my daughter has been also a lot effective, and just taking the time out to do that. That's called raising children. And I think we got real lost from that. We got a message right here. It says we are under the mistaken impression that children who have an independent creative spirit and strong will must be beaten into submission. And I talk a lot about us being not too many generations still off of being raised, by slavery. So basically, we've been taught how to be parents based off of, how somebody reared us, so to say, and punished us and the things that we knew that worked and kept us, in a submissive state during slavery. And I told you I've been trying to keep from being emotional because
Get emotional, girl. Cry it out.
But it is an emotional, a very emotional topic for me because it is something I'm currently still dealing with. Is trying to learn how not to, get so angry that I have to whoop my children, or like feeling like I'm fed up. I don't have any other resources, or I don't know what else to do. I don't know, to talk enough. When is it time to, know if whooping's working or not? But then I'm like, I know I'm a product of a good butt whooping family, and I don't think it stopped me one time from saying, I'm not going to do this because I don't want to get a whooping. I think I did everything I would have ever done, regardless if I was going to get a whooping or not, because that was just in me to be that child, which here I am as an adult, still having that same energy, but wondering how my life could have turned out differently if I hadn't been broken, so to say, as a child. But I did want to add on here, we were talking about tools, and you have this parenting code of ethics. Do you want to talk about this a little bit more?
Sure. So I wrote the parental code of ethics because when debating with people, they would say things like, well, what should I do? If I'm not going to hit them, what should I do? And so I wrote this credo pretty much to help parents, and you can find it on my website as well. But I'll read a little bit of it. It says, I will listen to my child and hear what's being said. I will use my wisdom to read my child's behavior and make decisions based on what I really see. I will focus on creating true happy moments in my child's life. I will foster growth and development of the gifts my child displays naturally. When I get frustrated with my child's behavior, I will create better solutions for disciplining than hitting. I will influence my child with pleasing memories of our relationship, filled with conversations held together and shared discoveries. I will work to have good, safe control over my child's surroundings and not control over his or her mind and decisions. I will contemplate the future impact my present time parenting will have on my child's development. My child will learn respect firsthand from the respect I give to him or her. I will only seek excellence in my child if I am excellent myself. I will honor this parental code of ethics and use it as a guide for being the best parent I can be. So that's the jam. That's the parental code of ethics, things that we can go by and make sure that we are creating a life that that they can be happy about, so that we are like, I think we are instinctually like acting like animals and hitting them the way we were done. But what? How about giving some contemplation to ways that we can make them better? How about I have a chapter called Pleasure Moments. How about thinking about things you could do to please your child? Like, you could think of a million ways that you want to beat them, but are you thinking about ways that you could build them? Yeah. What's up? Think of ways that we can build them. I think that that's important, even more important, because it definitely wasn't done for us. It wasn't, nobody. Well, that's not true for me. My mother was very big on games and making sure that we had fun and played games. And she engaged herself when we were doing projects for school. And so I think it takes that type of decision-making to contribute to the child's life, as opposed to all of the negativity and you get on my nerves and go do the dishes and all of those things, So in this picture here, I give the book out for free on the bus and train. I've been doing it since I was living in New York, back in 2009 and 2010 and what have you. And then I do it here in Chicago. It's like, I actually, some people call it like a ministry, right? But what happens is when I see a mother with a child or a father with a child, and if I see them yelling, then I'm going to intervene and I'm going to say, hey, girl, that you got a trial with you, girl, start a little conversation. And then I'll say something like, I say, I wrote a book for parents just about, the work that we got to do as parents. And then I say, if I gave it to you, would you read it? And they always go, of course I would read it. So what I've done in that moment is I've taken the attention off of the yelling of the child and into our conversation. And now we're talking about the book. The kid is thankful. You can see it in their face. And now I'm like taking a picture with them. Let's take a selfie with the book. Sometimes the child grabs the book and they want to look at it. But it's better for me to get the word out, and getting paid for the book is a thing. But I actually had people buy like 10 copies so that I could give out 10 copies to people in the street, right? And do it like that so that I can just intervene when necessary. I was coming home one day and it was a UPS truck in front of my building. And a dude was in the back of the truck coming out with the packages. And he said, excuse me, miss, are you that lady that wrote Beating Black Kids? And I was like, yeah, what's up? And he said, yo, I'm a better father because of you. You gave me that book and my baby was just being born. But because I read your book, I actually parent differently. What? That's what all the work is about. Yeah. It's about that, being preventative, being better as parents, because then we're going to get better adults that, when we have things happen in society that are upsetting, we'll have the skill set to address it and not be reactive about how we respond. And so definitely giving it out to the world is important to me. Big time.
Yes. And what do we have to do to get some of those books over here at Mama Africa's Marketplace?
Make a word, say a word, say a word.
Word.
Word, what? You know, I'll be right over there with the half a dozen or dozen, whatever you desire.
Yes,
Because
I think it'll be. I'm not sure if you are you doing like parenting circles. Are you doing circles for women who want to stop beating their black kids?
sure, absolutely. I've done a series of workshops. This picture here was actually, oh, sorry, not that one. Let's look at this one. This was a workshop that I did with some social workers who wanted to know how to better deal with their children, but also better deal with their clients, right? And so I definitely do whatever we want to call it. It could be mothering circles, which
Mhm.
sounds good to me, where we get better, we look at our mothering styles and improve them, use the book as a guide. And yeah, let's get this rolling. Like if we
I
want the
mean,
future,
I'm thinking like a beating black kids support group.
I love it.
That sound weird.
No, no,
We got
no.
support groups for everything else. I believe that I know I'm not the only black mother that struggles with wanting to not, but still, um, and just learning different tools and how to effectively parent without rearing our children the way that our parents did us. So if you're interested,
I would
we
love
have a
it.
lovely space over here
I
where
would
we can, even if it's just monthly, it don't have to be weekly. If it's just monthly, just if we had a circle of women, a safe space for black women to come together and talk about, using different tools and bringing their children into that space as well. I think would be awesome. And if you would, bless us to be able to do that, I think that it'll be a great addition to the community, and building community space, because it starts with our children.
uh,
Our future is only as bright as the spirits and, of our children that we're having. So
absolutely. If you don't mind, I'd like to show a little bit about the book so people know, because we're kind of talking about the experiences, but I do have a video that I created that describes what the book is. So
please.
let's just take a look.
Out came, my mama used to hit me with a spatula.
Let me rewind it.
I got spanked and I turned out fine. Spare the rod, spoil the child. Kids today need to be beat. What else am I supposed to do? He's so bad. Ooh, she gets on my last nerve. Better hush up before I give you something to cry about.
It was important that I write the book, Beating Black Kids.
I'm old fashioned. And I believe, you just can't let a child do anything.
I think it's okay, long you don't abuse them.
It's needed to a certain point.
But what I saw was a collection of adults who were talking about a topic they had never really talked about before. Out came, my mama used to hit me with a spatula. My dad used to hit me with a belt. They used to make me get wet first. They used to put my face in a pillow and then spank me. Like all of these different stories about how we have gotten beaten over time. And while there was a lot of laughter when those stories were being told, I could clearly see that there's a fine line between laughing and crying. And I knew that it was time for me to write a book about handling the situation. And so it's very obvious that this came from being a slave, from a slavery experience, from that whole spare the rod, spoil the child. The shepherd did not beat the sheep with the rod. He guided them with the rod. And so it is just obvious that that came from a slavery experience, and we have to know how to differentiate those things and then just use some discernment in terms of doing what's best for our children and not breaking their spirits. With regards to how we discipline our children, first of all, I always tell people that discipline, if you look at the etymology of the word, it comes from disciplina, which is the Latin root meaning teach. And so when you discipline a child, you are teaching them. But when you use corporal punishment and you hit our children, you're not teaching them anything. They're actually not going to do it again out of fear. They're not doing it out of reason. The frustration that we feel from being powerless in a society and all of the things that come along with that, those issues are not to be taken out on our children when we get home. The definition of domestic violence says bringing harm to someone in your home or hurting someone in your home. So I want us to look at how we beat our offspring
and how that's not giving them anything good. It's making them quote unquote obedient, but that's what you make a dog, that's what you make an animal. But when you're dealing with someone of higher intelligence, use their intelligence and start to talk to them in ways that give them power, make them feel supported, listen to their ideas, and it'll just be an easier parenting road for you. There's a part of the brain called the regulatory part of the brain, and that's the part of the brain that helps you make decisions in times of adversity. Well, if they have that toxic stress before they're even 4, that part of the brain does not develop. And so you're looking at a community full of people with no regulatory equipment. So we need to be bringing a different generation of people up with a different consciousness. Make sure that the kids feel good and alive while they're living. Don't be upset after they die and after there's all these senseless killings. Let's treat them well while they're living, and then we'll see a different impact. The adults want to be upset, but you taught the children the violence when they were young, and it's the tools they have. I feel like, hitting children is such a skillless. We need to foster behavior that builds them up, and that just changes the way, like, we talk to each other. Talk to your discipline, because discipline, we're using it a lot to describe hitting children, and this is not directly to you, LaShawn, but it's to just all of us, because I've heard it and it's personally, and discipline. My book is sold in Switzerland, Germany, Tasmania, Nigeria, Sudan, Canada, all over the world. And so people all over the world are telling me, as far as Germany, that my book is making a difference in the lives of the people that other people touch, but also in the lives of many parents and families who now no longer beat their children because they read my book. A lot of people ask me if I'm going to write another book, and I'm not ready to write another book, but what I will say is that there is a high demand for the book in Spanish and in French. My book is not punitive, my book is not accusatory, but there are solutions replete throughout the whole book. It really is just about being engaged with your child. They're not going to become respectful and trustworthy through you telling them and demanding it. They're going to become that way from observing you and then emulating what they see. And so in my parental code of ethics that I wrote, one of my favorite lines is, I will only seek excellence in my child if I am excellent myself. And so that's what I say is the number one key to making sure you have great children, is checking yourself.
Man, Mama, that was that was intense. It was, sometimes it's hard for me to hear it, but it's beautiful. I appreciate you. I thank you so much for all you're doing. We do have a caller on the line. Let's see if this caller, are you there? 5935. Let's see. Might not be there. We're gonna let them get back on the line while we talk about this. But I know you were talking about as doing as they see and not as you tell them to do. Oh, we got the caller on the line.
Yes, I apologize. I was on mute at the time. This is Brother Plump, Robert Floyd Plump in Chicago.
Peace and love, Baba. How are you?
Oh, we are fantastically blessed and all about success. Just like to emphasize, for everyone to stop the violence, especially the misuse and the abuse of the children. That has been a problem that I think that demonstrated from slavery, a part of discrimination from, the slavery type of concept, which was also a police type of mentality.
Yes, sir.
To really put fear into the children, as well as in this type of fear was really instituted by the Caucasian race back in the day. So it kind of took on with our people too, up from slavery time. However, we have something very unique and special that we have started campaigning as well as fundraising
And who is
concerning.
we? Who is we, sir?
Thank you for asking. The People's March Incorporation, for more information, .com, and the Harold Washington Foundation is sponsoring a Peace Caravan Parade on April 15th. And it just happens to be our beloved sister name of Latifah birthday too. And we like for everyone to celebrate all over Chicago as well as throughout America and the world to be peaceful on that day.
Yes, sir.
We all have fell short of the glory of God, and the Honorable Minister Farrakhan on February the 23rd of 2025 said, let's get rid of the jive, and also let's thrive and come alive in 2025. And to do that, we must also repent from violence. You know, on that day, we are promoting no violence at all anywhere in Chicago, America, and the world. I believe.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, I believe that Minister Ishmael Muhammad, which happens to be the son of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, he delivered a message that if we begin to promote peace in the world, even with one day. So I went to Savior's Day, and I got that idea to repent. And if everybody in the world promote peace and love and unity and marketing, help us to market people all over the world to be peaceful on April the 15th, which is a Tuesday. And we want all the aldermen to vote yes in Chicago because they can make it a reality.
Can I say something, Reverend Plump?
Citywide holiday to promote peace.
Reverend Plump, so how can people reach out to you to find out more information?
Oh, thank you. They can reach out to us at 312-882-5935. And also, we're going to be having a meeting.
We're going to put that information into our chat. I think.
And can I say something also, please? I think it's important for groups that are going to talk about peace to make sure that they address, maybe not at the same time, but we like to talk about peace that we want others to have with us. But we don't like to talk about the peace we need to create in our own homes. And that is very big. It's almost like we put a Band-Aid on the issue, but we're not really talking about for real, generating peace. You got to generate peace in that home. You understand? And you got to make sure that is the message that is happening within the community, period. That peace is something that we're going to implement, because that was the problem with the person who was to help be the catalyst for the book, is that everything is namaste, peace, hotep, scissor. But now you're telling me to beat my kids?
Yeah.
What? African kings and queens, what? What are you talking about? Because you don't make kings and queens from beating people. And you don't garner respect for people that beat you. If a woman gets beat by her man, she's not out and respecting him and like, oh, yay. But we expect for our kids to respect us as parents when we're beating them and creating them harm. So I'm just saying, if we're going to go out in the world and talk about peace, that we got to deal with the peace in the home first. Then we'll see peace in the rest of the world and in the rest of the community, because we address it. So I know we got to go to commercial, girl. I already know. But
all right, let's get to this commercial break, and we will be right back talking more about peace and unity and not beating our Black kids.
Hi, I'm And if you're watching this, that means you're one of the 4.6 billion people from around the world who are using an electronic device to talk to people. In these times, people are using the internet to talk to everybody. Friends, neighbors, family members, co-workers. People are on their cell phones and computers all day long. Now, if you're in business, that is great news. That means you can sell your products and services all day long and never have to leave your home. All you need is a media connection, somebody to connect you to an audience. And that's why I'm talking to you today. We produce programs, and our audience members are people who shop. They buy clothes, food, beauty supplies, cleaning supplies, home repair, transportation services, child care services. Whatever you're selling, they need to buy it. We're your media connection. Just follow this link, and tomorrow you can sit back and relax at home while your business is making you money.
Thank you for that quick break. The brother was talking about peace, and I really resonate with that, because I think a lot of times we don't look at beatings as beatings or abuse. So if you you see a grown person beating say a man beating a woman, or a woman beating a man, and they're saying, well, if you just did what I told you to do, I wouldn't be going upside your head, and I love you and I want you, all the same things that our parents say to us. If we saw that in relation to two adults handling each other the same way, it would be, you'd be like, what, but we expect that to not be the same thing for children who has less capabilities of doing exactly what you tell them to do. And speaking of that, I just wanted to show this quick clip on how children do. Let's see what's going on. Hold on one second. Bear with us. We're working this out.
While you're waiting for that and trying to work it out, one of the things I want to say that I didn't fully talk about, you asked me a question about the difference between beating and abuse. And it's all the same thing. I said that, but it's just different gradients of pain. Okay. So we're talking about you can beat them with a belt, you could beat them with a shoe, you could spank them with your hand. But every time the body experiences pain, it is an example of cells dying away. Okay. And so that's why you get bruising sometimes, because the cells have died in that area. And so you could try to call it what you want, but the body is experiencing pain, the child's emotions, they're experiencing harm. And no, that we're not doing that. So it's a little bit of the same. You don't get to call it spanking and say it's not abuse. It's the same thing, because that's not, the body wasn't designed for you to bring harm to it, and again, like you were just saying, bringing harm to a little body, to a little person. That's what you're doing. That's the, people say, well, I got beat and I turned out fine. Well, okay. I say, first of all, I say, is that what you're aiming for? You aiming for fine? Right? And then the second thing I say, I made an acronym for FINE, FINE, and it stands for failing indefinitely, never emerging, period. Because as a people, we're not emerging at the rate that we should. And it's because we failing indefinitely from beating our children. You're not turning out fine. You're not turning out in a way that's going to propel our people into the future. It's not improving our trajectory. No, it's not. So yeah, I usually say that. You got a comment here. Let me see what this is said. Oh, Mama Long. Oh, Mama Long always spoke so highly and beautifully of you in your book. Says she always told me that. Oh, you knew Mama Long? Yeah. That was my spiritual mother right here in Chicago. And Yeah, she was around, of course, when I had the book out, and was a wonderful spiritual guide. And it's always great to have the support of the elders for me with this topic, because people try to make like the problems with parenting come from young people, but stop playing like it's not the older generation that comes to the table with how it was done in our day. Well, guess what? It's not your day. It's different now. So we should be growing from a new experience and not just hung up on that at all. So, okay, good. Did you want to try this? You want to try the video again? Let's see.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to do, Mama. It is not working out for us.
Okay, not a problem. We can continue on to the break of dawn. It's a ton else. There's a a lot of people. I have something to say about, this is not really a children's issue. I'm not the child advocate. I'm actually a parenting strategist. That's what I am. But I do have a video that helps sort of exemplify my viewpoint on parents and the role. So I'll play that. I've heard a lot about the things that are being done with legislation and making sure that states and countries ban corporal punishment and things of that nature. But if you do not go and talk to the mother or the father about their innate views and their innate feelings about children, you can pass all the laws you want, but you're not changing the fiber of the society. The laws will be changed overnight if you have a rally of parents to back it. But the reason you don't have a rally of parents to back it is because they still have these deep-seated feelings of resentment towards kids or whatever they were raised with. I was beaten and it made me turn out better. They have that belief. So that's what has to be attacked. That's what has to be handled, is the fact that they actually believe that they deserve the beatings and that they're going to give more beatings because it made them better. My approach is to attack the pain, not in a way that's like evaluative. Let's look at that. I don't care about that. Nobody wants to feel like that, like they're being researched. I'm talking about, did it work for you? When I do my workshops, I have people actually look at their first exposure to violence, and I have them draw what their first exposure to violence is, and you'd be very surprised what they come up with. And when they look at it themselves, see, they blocked it out for so many years, to return to it and see it, they don't like it. And so then I have them address, well, what would have been better? And then they conjure up the better things. And after that, they go, oh, and they don't want to do those things anymore. One lady said to me in a workshop, "Thank you for letting us tell our stories because no one ever asked us." That was like amazing. She's a parent. Nobody ever asks. They just want to condemn the parents for what they're doing. But you're not asking them the questions that will help you see why they're doing it. It's like you want to answer, but you're not really asking the questions to get the answer. You're just condemning people for their actions. But when you really listen to these people, you know why they do it. And then you know how to fix it. It's that simple. Love my parents, baby.
I'm over here like trying to keep them crying.
Girl, cry. Everybody wants you to
cry. What if instead of beating our children, we supported them, uplifted them, helped them to navigate those emotions, or whatever the situation was, if we just stopped to take time. I feel like sometimes the beating is just a release of frustration, or trying to get a shortcut into parenting, or training your kids a certain way, and
it's just weak. It's a weak approach. Like if you're a man or a woman, like if I'm a man and you're a woman that beats your kids, I'm looking at your character as a woman. I don't want that. Who wants that? Somebody who leashes out on young people. Or if you're a man, I had to see, it was a brother on the train one day and his daughter must have been like 4 years old. And he wanted her to sit with her legs closed or something. And kind of hit her and pulled her in closer to him or whatever he was doing. So I just stood up and I stood next to him because he was right by the door. And I put my hand on his shoulder and I said, brother, men, what she's learning right now is that men that love her can hit her.
Yeah.
Period. That's what, and I heard a comedian say that the other day, that she was taught that a man don't love you unless he hits you. And so we got to find a better way because it's not leaving the result that we want. I just wanted to respond to this comment. I'm so grateful for this conversation. Thank you. I think it's Rock. That's your name. I think that's how you pronounce it, or Rake or Rock. Thank you. And then somebody else said, let me see what happened. I was beaten. Hurt people. The cycle is perpetually administered in our communities through our individual households. We have walked in the ways of a lost society. Love is agape. It's freedom. It's pure peace and tranquility. Thank you, Kayante. Thank you so much. No doubt about it. Let's handle that, the vicious cycle. And then you said, I'm humbled by this dialogue. Thank you so much. This is the work we got to do. We got to confront the ugly. We have to have a good confront of evil, because when we are leashing out at our young people, that's evil. It is evil, because you could talk about how you came out all you want. But I asked the brother, because he said, well, I got beaten. I turned out fine. I said, yeah, but what were you saying when it was happening? He said, oh, I wanted to kill her. Right. You wanted to kill your mother when it was happening. Right. Those sentiments never left you. You love your mother, of course, but the sentiments and the hate and the resentment and the disdain and the upset and the sadness and the confusion and the disappointment never left. Nobody ever dealt with all of that. And that's what builds up in the kids each time you hit them until they get hard and it don't bother them no more. But now you got to deal with how they're going to translate what they've experienced into the real world, and whose butt are they going to kick, because their butt is getting kicked. And so I always say there's a part of the brain called the regulatory part of the brain. And it's the part of the brain that makes decisions in times of adversity, right? And so that regulatory equipment does not develop if it's too much toxic stress in the body. If those kids have too much toxic stress, no regulatory equipment. So guess what? They don't have the tools they need to do things. They urinate in the elevator. They do things that's not like sequitur, that doesn't make sense, because they don't have the mental equipment. You've made sure of that. You beat it out of them, right? So we have to really take heed to that, and that we want to create people with good regulatory equipment. My daughter, when she was like 7 years old, there was a teacher. She was talking to the teacher about how she loved going to her grandma's house, and she's going to, when she goes there this summer, she's going to have a microwave in her room and movies in her room and all of that. And so the teacher said to her, oh, you're spoiled. And my daughter said, no, I'm highly loved. There's a difference. 7 years old, regulatory equipment. Boop, boop, boop. Thank you very much. So, she could have gone away feeling upset or insecure, but she was able to not be fresh, but to rebut with some intelligence. No, I'm not spoiled. I'm highly loved. I talk about that in the book. Spoiled means rotten and putrid. That is not what we are. That they are showing love on a high level is something that we need to get in tune with. Let me see. Naima said men who were whipped by their mothers express that hostility towards the women in their personal relationships. Let me tell you something. In my workshops, I've said stuff like, if I was a black man, I might not want a black woman because I've been beat by them my whole life. Black women have leashed out on me my whole life. Why would I want one of those? They yell, they hit, they like that. So you're helping to form the viewpoint of a black woman, right? So yeah, this says here, beatings and violent discipline are harmful and unnecessary. Appreciate your teachings in this area. We also need to be mindful of violent and abusive words. No doubt about it. They all are meshed into the same old ugly pot. And they come from examples that were set for us that weren't good for our development. period. And so if we're going to create children that are going to become adults that have a certain skill set, yeah, we got to do something differently. I have a chapter in the book called You Got Chosen. And my belief is that our children choose us. And if our children choose us, then what they choose you for? Because
Right.
that's what you need to work on. You need to work on that. If you're a good cook, good, teach them too. If you are funny, good, teach them that too. If and so you look at the things and you improve yourself so that they can have a better guide to follow. So Zelda said, wow, not spoiled, highly loved, love it. Heck yeah.
Yes.
My baby said, I'm not spoiled, I'm highly loved. There's a difference. Ooh, when she told me that when she came home, I was like, get them slaves, Paige. Get them slaves. Woo. I was like, woo. So, I mean, I just love my parenting. I love what it did. My daughter's a woman now, so she can make her own decisions, but I at least know what the foundation is. She can make whatever decision she wants right now in her life, but the framework and how and where she got her ideas, they came from a certain rearing, and she used to even we're vegans, and she used to ask about eating meat. And I was like, you can eat dead bodies if you desire. I said, but as long as your colon is on my watch, you're not going to ingest those. But after that, you can do what you desire, So it was just a discussion, not like because I said so, that's so weak. We tell them stuff like that. Do it because I said so, with no explanation. So we'll end up having the skills necessary to go forward, meaning you can't even negotiate. We weren't raised to negotiate. So we grow up as adults that can't negotiate, can't even negotiate a salary because we were taught to take authority, but we were not taught to be authorities.
Mm-hmm.
That is why you see us the way we are. And so we got to get it together, get our tools right.
I know as a child, or I guess I would be considered a teenager, I ran her from home at 14 years old. And I ran her from home because I was tired of getting the whooping. Every day I was getting in trouble because I wasn't a bad kid. I was just an outgoing child, an outspoken child. I wanted to be free. I wanted to, do whatever I wanted to do. And I found myself in a situation with a man who was about 36 years old and very abusive. But I felt like if I could harden myself to the abuse of him, I could harden myself to the abuse of my mama, and then I could go home and do whatever I want to do and not care about getting a whooping, which was kind of a little interesting way of thinking. But I actually left home and never went back home, at that age, living on the street and being abused because of tired of getting whoopings. And I'm like, well, shoot, if I'm gonna be getting whoopings, I might as well be living free and getting the whooping. So it was a very interesting time in my life, but definitely got some issues from that. And I turned out okay.
Right. And so my job is to make sure that we turn out better than okay. That's it. Because sometimes people, when they be like, yeah, I got beaten, I turned out fine, or I got beaten, I turned out okay. I said, see, what I want is I want you to turn out excellent. They said, that's what I mean. I turned out excellent. I said, that's not what you said, though. Don't try to go back. Don't try to backpedal now because you said what you said. And so the goal is to raise the bar for how we are bringing people into the world. In Scientology, we got this saying, it comes from the course called the State of Man Congress. And he talks about, and I hope I'm not forgetting it, but basically it talks about a lot of things in terms of the zone that you control. And I want us to control our zones better. Like we have the ability to create people that, I know what I want to say. It's something called create and confront. And so he says, if you keep creating things, but you're not confronting what you create, it's going to turn to debris. So like if you're a painter and you keep making a painting, you make a painting, you make a painting, you make a painting, before you know it, your living room is full of paintings and they're going to turn to debris. As Black people, we keep creating children and not confronting what we create, right? So if you're a painter, you put it in a gallery, you put it in a museum, you sell them online. That's you confronting what you create. If we are going to create children, then we need to put them in programs, get them to play an instrument, like do things that make them powerful. So But because we're not doing that, we keep creating children and they're turning to debris because we're not confronting the children that we create. So we need to handle that and really build them into really like use them like clay, baby. Don't impose your views on them so that they doing what you say, but take some inventory. Like I said, in a parental code of ethics, take some inventory of the skills they have naturally. One thing about, if you ever look at the Justin Bieber movie when he was being raised, even when he was a baby, they let him bang on pots and bang on this and make music with household items. And he became Justin Bieber, but nobody ever stifled his being a musician when he was little, right? And that's the one thing. And he was raised by a single mom and raised by his grandparents and all of that, similar to how we can be raised. But you got to look at their innate skills. If they talk a lot in school, maybe they're an orator.
Yeah.
What? Maya Angelou back in the day in school, we wanted to bring her to school. She was $30,000 then an hour. What? So being a speaker is a thing. Maybe that's their thing. You know, if they are skateboarding, maybe that's their thing. So you just got to look at, if they play games all the time, good. Teach them how to be a gamer. I think the last time I looked, Candy Crush, the dude that made Candy Crush was making $96 million a day. Teach them how to make a game. So yeah, raise your skills and not your hands and voices to rear our children. And I think we're going to get a much better result.
Yes, ma'am. So thank you so much for the work that you are doing in our community. We got another one. Grand Rising, awesome, beautiful, beloved Queen teaches. You
said, where were you 60 years ago? You say, oops, guess the world wasn't ready for this teaching yet. Thank you, no doubt about it. And be the original creators. Heck yeah, big time. We got a lot of work to do. We don't have time to be beating our offspring. It's not developing the people that we want, the people that we need. When you see somebody take office and you think they're going to do some oppressive things, if you're powerful and your children are powerful, you don't care about that because they ain't got nothing to do with you and what your God does, right? And so that's how I feel about that. But our children aren't even equipped to pick up the baton because we dropped the ball. You know, when kids come home and they are fearful of the parents, they're supposed to be able to come home and get solace and get support from people that are there and respect them. I don't use the word respect when it comes to what I want from a young person, but I do love reverence, the things that we revere. You know, it's people that we revere. We revere Martin Luther King, you know, but it's sort of like it's admiration involved in it, right? And so I feel like we want that emotion when they come home. It says, I hope this is saved. I'd love to continue to share. Absolutely. This is being shared live right now on my page, your page. So you could take the video and share, baby, all you want.
And share the book, share all the information. Just really quick, we're about to wrap it up and close out. Of course, we could talk about this for hours. I know I can. But what I try to ask each of the guests, because you are at Mama Africa's house, when you think of Mama Africa Marketplace, what do you think of? What comes to mind?
I think of strength, and I think of the fact that there are no places for us to do things. We always are stuck trying to find a place to be, but Mama Africa's house and Mama Africa's Marketplace provides space for us to convene and do what the heck we want as a people, you understand? And it's so special because of that, because we need spaces in our community where we can grow.
All right, Mama. We are going to check out right now. Thank you all for joining in, and we will see you next Thursday, 7 a.m. To 8 a.m. Peace and love.
We've come to the end of our show today. If you missed any broadcasts, go to our website for the audio and video archives at www.thefemalesolution.com. On behalf of our team of radio hosts, I'd like to thank all of you who participated in today's discussions. And to our global family joining us from all around the world, we say thank you. To our family in China, xie xie. India, dhanyavad. Japan, arigato. Korea, kamsamnida. Russia, spasiba. Germany, danke. Poland, dziękuję. France, merci. Spain, gracias. Italy, grazie. Egypt, shukran. Ghana, madasi. Nigeria, eshe. South Africa, Ngiyabonga. Senegal, Jaref. Kenya, Asante. Israel, Toda. Pakistan, Shukriya. Afghanistan, Tashakur. Saudi Arabia and Palestine, Shukran. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Thank you, and may peace be upon you and the mercy of God and God's blessings.